Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another One Piece video. As we get closer and closer to the reveal of One Piece, which seems like a lifetime away, but it is actually getting closer, we are going to get more and more card reveals, and today we are going to go over the blue reveals from the blue starter deck coming out with the release of One Piece. So stick around for that. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want more One Piece content. I've really been enjoying the game. The card design looks really cool. The card art, I'm hoping gets cleaned up a little bit by the time the game releases, but so far I'm enjoying the game. And if you guys are looking for pre-orders on One Piece product, make sure to use my link in the description to Mystic TCG, our team sponsor. Incredible store. Stuff is always very timely, so make sure to check them out down in the description. Anyways, let's get started. We have a small graphic here of just all the card arts. We'll go through the cards effect by effect. So we have the Crocodile Leader. Activate main once per turn, Dawn -4, so you're going to throw 4 of your Dawns back into your Dawn deck. Return up to 1 cost 5 or lower character to its owner's hand. Now, here's the thing. This is kind of my comparison to Dragon Ball, and this game is very similar to Dragon Ball in a lot of ways. Bouncing back to the opponent's hand is one of the weakest forms of removal in a game where cards don't cost all that much. And, you know, in One Piece, that's going to be very contextual. Some cards are going to cost more than others, but we do get 2 Dawn per turn for the most part. So that's not going to be all that great. Like, looking at a 5 cost being bounced, you're more so looking at a 3-drop ish being bounced, right? So you're bouncing back essentially a turn 3 play to their hand. They can replay it the next turn. That can set them back, don't get me wrong. It's probably better than just leaving them with the battle card on the board for sure, but at the cost of 4 Dawn, and again, this kind of being one of the worst forms of removal in a game like this, maybe not the best, but I mean, you know, the battle cards in the deck and the cards inside the deck can definitely make up for that. Let's read some more. We had a vanilla Edward Weevil, 3-drop 5k. Pretty good stats, actually, for a 3-drop being a 5k. That does damage to leaders. That's not too bad at all, I don't think. Then we have a Crocodile Boss Monster. So we have a 5-drop 6k blocker. 1 Dawn underneath. When blocking, return up to 1 of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters to the bottom of the deck. Okay, that's actually really good. Now, the weird thing is, this Dawn under him effect is going to take place during your opponent's turn, and as it is right now, Dawns under your characters don't add power during the opponent's turn, so he's still only going to block for 6k, but I mean, this removal, sending the card back to the bottom of the deck, does seem very strong, so I do like that. This is going to be pretty solid against your opponent's like low to the ground, spammy types of aggression, so I think that's pretty good, actually. Then we have a Gecko Moira, 4-drop 5k. These battle cards, or these character cards, have pretty big stats from what I'm noticing. Add 1 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Bark Pirates type character with a cost of 4 or less other than Gecko Moira from your trash to your hand. So a little bit of recyclability definitely seems pretty decent. 4 or less means you can't pick up any of your like larger boss monsters, but maybe there are some really key targets we'll pick up later on. The thing about One Piece though is that you don't really turbo through your deck as much, at least as it looks right now in the early portions of the game's life. So you might not even see a lot of your key pirates that are going to end up in your trash when you really want them to for Gecko Moira. So this might be a bit of a tougher card to use, but if there's a way to maybe send them to the drop from your deck or maybe discard them from your hand, this could maybe work out kind of well. Then we have Dracula Mihawk. So we have a 4-drop 5k. We have Dawn 1. When attacking, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards from your hand. Okay, just what I was talking about. So this can actually get some of those pirates in your drop if you need to pick them up later with Gecko Moira, so that can combo well. But honestly, besides that, because that's not really like all that great of a combo, you can do it, but it's not really that amazing. The thing about this Mihawk card though is that it actually does let you start turboing through your deck, which not many cards that I've read allow you to do. I do actually really like that a lot. Then we have a Jinbei, just simple 2-drop 4k. Again, for a vanilla, this seems to be like pretty good stats. Maybe blue is going to kind of be one of these like tall boss monster beatdown types of colors. Kind of what it's looking like a little bit at least. Then we have a Santamaru. So we have a 3-drop 4k. Again, like pretty solid stats. Dawn 1, activate main once per turn. Pay 2 of your Dawn. Rest the designated amount of Dawn in your cost area. Play a 4 cost or lower pacifista type card from your deck, then shuffle your deck. Okay, this effect seems very powerful. Like whenever you can pull a resource out of your deck and use it, that seems good. Keep in mind though, this game, at least compared to Dragon Ball Super, does have summoning sickness, so it's not like you're gonna be able to play that pacifista and then immediately attack with it. That is gonna be something very important to note, but still, I mean, this does seem like a pretty good card. Compare this to the ulti from the Kaido deck. That plays a page 1 from your hand. So 1, that is just a way more specific target so there's gonna be way less applications for it. But 2, that's gonna reduce your hand size, where this pulls it right out of your deck, so there's no harm to your hand size, and you get more board presence. So that does seem pretty good. You got to pay the initial 3 to play this guy, but then for an additional 2, so essentially a 5 drop, you can think of it, you're getting 2 battle cards out, which is pretty good seeming in my opinion. Then we have a Law card, which is pretty dope. 1 drop, 1k blocker. When your opponent attacks by pressing this card, you can change the attack target to this card. Very, very simple. I'm kind of surprised that Law gets a simple 1 drop blocker, but I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more Law cards in the main set. I think we've seen some green Law cards as well, so I guess they're going to throw him around in a bunch of different colors. But yeah, Law, for this deck at least, are simple 1 drop blocker. Then we have Don Flamingo. So we have a 7 drop, 7k. On play, return up to 1 character with the cost of 7 or more to the owner's hand. Okay, now I was talking before about how returning to the owner's hand is a pretty bad piece of removal, and that's still true for the most part, but I mean, returning one of their big bosses to their hand, I mean, these cards that cost 7 or more probably take up the opponent's entire turn, right? Like casting the Kaido 9 drop or a copy of this card or whatever the case is. Casting something with a cost 7 or more probably takes up your opponent's whole turn, so setting them back in that regard is probably pretty decent. But I mean, if that 7 or higher cost card has a really powerful on-play effect, I think it's going to feel pretty bad to use Doflamingo there, not going to lie. So this one, I think it's going to be kind of matchup dependent, again, depending on if things have on-play effects or not, or certain effects that they can kind of refresh by playing again. That's not going to be quite as good in my opinion. Next up, we've got a Bartholomew Kuma card. It is a 2 drop 3k. On play, look at 3 cards on top of your deck and return them to the top or bottom in any order, and then trigger play this card. So we've been seeing this for all the colors so far. This is essentially blue's free play when it's hit out of your life, and then it's got a decent on play, definitely not as good as Who's Who or the Usopp from the red deck. I mean, a free rearrange when this card costs you 0 to play is not bad, and I do kind of wonder if these cards are just going to be automatic staples because they do get played from your life. Like, I could definitely see that being a thing, but this guy's on play is not all that great, to be honest. Like, if you draw this card in your hand and have to play it for 2, you're probably going to feel pretty bad about that, but I mean, maybe it'll be decent if you just don't have a better turn 1 play. But yeah, not all that good. But again, the trigger just being played for free out of life does make these types of cards rather valuable in my opinion. Then we have a Buggy card, just simple vanilla 1 drop 3k. We've seen these all before, not terrible. And we have a Pacifista. So this is one of the ones that is actually playable from the Santamaru, and that's a big boy. 4 drop 6k, like that's pretty good board presence to establish with 5 cost, right? Because I think Santamaru himself was either a 4k or a 5k. So that plus this, I do like that amount of board presence. That's really solid. Next up, we have a Boa Hancock 3 drop 1k blocker, and then trigger play this card. Okay, this card seems super strong. It's a little bit higher cost on the ends of blockers that we've seen, but going first is still playable turn 2. I mean, technically going first or second, it's playable turn 2, but the other blockers a lot of times are playable turn 1. But yeah, this card being a trigger out of your life to just play for free, ask me, it's an automatic 4. This card seems very good. Then we have a Marshall D. Teach. We have a 4 drop 4k on play. Return a character that costs 3 or less to the owner's hand. In my opinion, this is going to be one of the worst cards in the deck, one of the not so good ones, because again, that form of removal is just not very good. And only bouncing a 3 or less, I mean, by the time like turn 4 or 5 rolls around, your opponent can play multiple 3 costs. So putting those back in their hand doesn't seem all that great. And we have seen quite a few 3 costs with on plays. Yeah, I don't love it, but again, if you guys have a different opinion, let me know in the comments below. That's going to be a thing where this is going to be a slightly different game than Dragon Ball for sure. There's no avoiding that, but I am going off my Dragon Ball knowledge of that not being so great when there are so many good on-play effects in the game. I could just definitely see a world where that happens, but I mean, just with a lack of card pool, you might have to play it, but maybe there's going to be better blue 4 drops in the actual main set itself. So while we're playing with just starter decks, this might be a card you have to play, maybe because of the stats or the effect is kind of decent, but this is a card that I think will quickly get phased out as time goes on. Then we have some event cards. So we have Sandstorm, 4 cost main, return a character with 7 or less to the owner's hand, and then trigger, activate this card's main effect. So again, like coming out of the life, this effect does seem pretty good, but it's the same thing as Doflamingo, except for the fact that it costs 4 instead of 7, which obviously is nice that it's a cheaper card, but it doesn't give you board presence. That's kind of the trade-off, right? The trigger being free is, again, pretty good, but the problem is, like, if you're playing cards just for trigger effects, you can never guarantee they're ending up in your life, right? So can you make use of that versatility if they end up in your hand? This card seems tough to do that with, again, if the 7 costs or higher have really good on-play effects. Then we have a 2-cost event. We have Thrust Pad Cannon counter. Return a 3 cost lower to the owner's hand, and then trigger activate this card's counter effect. So this is weird. This is like, this can stop an attack outright, right? Which is not the worst. Like, if your opponent invests a ton of Dons into a character and you counter with this, you're going to put them in a pretty bad spot. They invested a lot into that attack just to have it bounce back to their hand. This is one of the instances where bouncing I can see being pretty good, because again, your opponent has to invest in this for that to happen. The trigger effect, also incredible. And I mean, we know that these counter types cards are just like kind of like mandatory 4-ofs in most decks, so this I don't think will be any different. And again, like, you can catch your opponent in really bad spots if they invest too much. So against blue decks, while you're worried about this card, you're probably gonna have to think like, I can't invest too many Dons into this one attacker, because if they have the Thrust Pad Cannon, you could get blown out right on the spot, right? And that's gonna be pretty important if you're playing the red Luffy deck, so that's something good to know there for sure. Then we have Love Beam. So we have a 2-drop counter, another counter. Your leader or up to one of your characters gain 4,000 power for duration of the battle. Then if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, draw 1. I love that added effect, just if you happen to be really low on cards, you get to draw the additional card, and then you do get the 4,000 power counter. So if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the other starter decks have 2 counters inside. I think they only have 1 each, so this color having 2 of them seems really, really good. And then we're back to the homepage of the starter deck. So overall, guys, just summing up my thoughts here. Again, like, bouncing back to hand is a very weak form of removal, but as time goes on, like, they'll kind of just start to power creep the game. Like, that's just inevitable with card games. And you know, we'll see more powerful forms of removal, like bottom decking, which the Crocodile 5-drop does, which is really good. But I do like a lot of the cards in the deck. I like the counters a lot. The counters I think are very, very good. I like Mihawk quite a bit, which I also forgot to mention is a 2K counter. So that card is just like the definition of versatile. I'm a big, big fan of that. Yeah, overall, so far, I think I'm liking the color of blue. It almost seems like yellow in Dragon Ball Super, which is one of my favorite colors to play, but I'm sure we'll get some more things in line with like tapping down, and maybe there'll be other true representations of yellow in this game. But anyways, guys, let me in the comments below what you think about the Crocodile starter deck. Not sure if it's necessarily as powerful as Kaido or Luffy, but it does seem pretty good, and definitely some room for improvement as time goes on. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.